Do you know how does it feel to live in a neighborhood surrounded by ignorant urban design, where the streets are narrow, shaded, and very cold?
Oh, come on, but this building during the sunniest days provides a lot of shade and keeps your home nice and cool. By the way, we all live in Belgium and, we all take vitamin D. Here, you want some?
Look at these windows, reflective with curtains behind. In fact, they give zero depth to the street and gives you a claustrophobic feelings.
Oh, come on, I think you dramatize a little bit. I think these reflective windows are perfect to offer extra sunlight to the street. By the way, you can always look at yourself like in a mirror before you go to the disco.
Are you kidding me? The walls are super massive like this one here. There is zero offset from the public space. And even if there is an offset like this, it's always closed by steel massive gates. And what is this? Cameras here, control there and there. It is not friendly at all.
Come on, don't be pathetic now. This beautiful material reminds you like you're living next to some luxurious villa. Look how nice it is. Soft marble.
Are you out of your mind? This is literally an output of an ignorant urbanization.
Actually, it can be even worse. Do you see that big building over there?
Of course, this is the railway station. What about it?
Well, you know what? There will be 60 meters extension on top of it. Surprise, surprise.
What? No way. This entire area is, in fact, a result of ignorant urbanization. From the time when big business and progress was the main urban driver. From the time when the railways, such as the one over here, were cutting through the entire neighborhood. From the time when tall office buildings, such as these ones, were built freely, disregarding the residential area of the city. From the time when long and dark tunnels, such as the one over here, were seen as an optimal solution.
But today we're experiencing different kind of urbanization, right? Urbanization followed by participation, sensibility, democracy, greenery, and a lot of bullshit developments that, just like in the good old days, ignore all the values we have listed above. This, our dear friends, is what we call ignorant urban renewal conducted by one single building. So let's strip some architecture and see how ignorant urban renewal can be conveyed by one single piece of architecture. Yes, exactly, by a building that looks like this. Mega long block with continuous length of 240 meters and 60 meters height that will be constructed as an extension on top of the South Station in Brussels. Oh my! It looks like the Lime project from Saudi Arabia will have its little miniature replica in the heart of Europe. Okay, never mind. The major reason why we call this proposal ignorant is simply because it completely ignores every possible challenge from the urban surrounding. But is that all? Is it possible that the ignorance of one building can be perceived as an ignorant urban renewal? I mean, look, every professional who is engaged in the field of architecture or urban planning knows through how much scrutiny a project goes, even for a single house. Building is a process that implies heavy impact on the environment, so it must offer as much as possible solutions in order to justify its existence. However, on the other side, this massive block completely ignores any kind of social, functional, spatial, or even financial challenges, even though it has been conceived and permitted in the 21st century in which we really have developed some decent systems of check and balances, critical times when we definitely get sensitive about any urban development. But how sensitive is this project? This new project will be built as an extension of the railway station Brussels South area that back in the time has experienced some heavy ignorant urbanization guided by the urban planning principle. Hey, why don't we build this? Yes, indeed. 8 years ago, the authorities came up with an idea of connecting the railway network from the south end to the north part of the city. Therefore, the ignorant urbanization of this area has started by demolishing this frontal facade and
adding two new ignorant entrances, such as this one over here and this one over here, and creating long dark tunnels, such as this one here.
Then this horrifying zombie tunnel.
And this one, you get the point, right?
This ignorant urbanization that took time in the second half of the 20th century marked the beginning of multiple problems that have arose in the surrounding area. Problems that even 70 years after the ignorant urbanization has begun are still very visible, like for example,
These tunnels, which are seen as a hostile environment for different groups of people. A lot of dark corners, such as this one over here, which is usually used as a shelter for homeless people, refugees, people without documents, etc. These kind of corners kind of create an intensive social polarization, non-existing relation with the environment. As a matter of fact, the famous Belgian philosopher architect Gideon Boye has well described this phenomena. This is a faceless building. Any exit you take, you will face a back street.
a lot of hotels and office buildings that create gentrification of the longest avenue in the area. And for some reason, whenever we talk about gentrification, we go out of battery. Anyways, in the meantime, we actually enjoyed this encounter with some of the local dynamics.
Polluted air from the heavy ventilation systems and trapped PM particles. Narrow streets with limited spaces for developing soft mobility infrastructure. And the list can go on and on and on.
After all these years, instead of solution for all these challenges that have been generated by this ignorant urbanization of 100 years ago, we have this democratically conceived proposal, a massive hanging block, which we have metaphorically sketched it like this. Yes, before we continue talking on the ignorant urban renewal, we wanted to remind you of our large collection of similar sketches like this one, where we try to illustrate urban critique and solutions in a fun way. Soon we will publish a book with these illustrations, and we invite you to check our work on the Instagram profile Stripping Architecture and caption these illustrations. These will help us to create architectural and urban planning terminology that will be understandable and fun for everyone, and not only for professionals, which is our major objective with this book. Your effort will be highly appreciated and credited in our publication. And now, let's get back to our ignorant hanging block. As we spoke before, this ignorant piece of architecture in fact continues the legacy of the previously described ignorant urbanization and aspires to generate ignorant urban renewal. How? Well, be careful. The ignorant urbanization of the past century did plenty of issues, but at least it tried to offer some visionary solutions. Okay, based on no research, however. On the contrary, the proposal of this massive block doesn't offer any kind of solution besides these beautiful plants on the renders here. Very nice, very nice. No, jokes on the side. The first and most dominant issue is that this long monolith block will severely shade and block the view for the surrounding residential streets.
Exactly. This street is one of the streets that is facing the new extension. It's a very typical narrow street of Brussels with traditional housing. The houses are located on this street are usually narrow and dark from inside, long corridors, no elevators, and there is lack of greenery in the public space. As you can see, the only thing that the residents can enjoy here is a view toward the blue sky. But unfortunately, after the new extension of this giant monster, the residents of this neighborhood will have a lack of view toward the blue sky, and the area will get even darker and darker.
Speaking of safety in the neighborhood, there is a lethargic but continuous intention for reinforcing the safety in a sustainable manner. Precisely speaking, the challenge is how to increase the safety in the area by offering more social trust, social control, and decreasing local poverty. Swiping away all the vulnerable social groups is an inhumane process that just removes the problem from one place to another.
But after the new extension, all the creative solution will be blown away. As you can see here, the existing urban canyon is causing a lot of problem when it comes to wind and pollution of noise. So, can you imagine how it will look like right after the new extensions? It will have a constant noise like what we hear now and triple times of wind tunnel through the urban canyon. It's horrible. This wind tunnel during the winter time will encourage a lot of vulnerable groups to penetrate around different corners in the stations, and it will increase the polarization among population even more and more.
Also, The intention of this project is to make a clear distinction between the users of the buildings and the rest of the people by offering what fancy corporations want to say, better customer-friendly experience, which is fine, but what about the better residential experience of the residents around?
In that sense, this building creates a relation between the insider and the outsider, which will never be beneficial to our society. The users of the offices upstairs will be locked inside, and the ground floor will remain monofunctional and temporarily used during certain hours of the day. A logical question: what will happen to a building without engaging fronts?
Furthermore, there will be a terrace garden created only for the customers of the building, with very nice flowers. Very nice, very nice. This exclusive approach will just reinforce the social gap between people. Probably the idea is to kind of keep the upper floors nice and clean, while the ground floor will remain dirt cheap. I mean, there is not even a plan for solving the streetscape of the public spaces around. Can you believe it? The general approach is the following. Let's develop a massive block first, and then we'll see about the surrounding. Yeah, like public space and urban design is, an afterthought. Like, let's screw up everything around, and then you little activists, micro architects, placemakers, or YouTubers, like us maybe, and you will get to play with the width of the sidewalk, for example. Yeah, why don't we do that? Wait a second. What about an opposite approach? First deliberate solution of the public space and then develop the private space accordingly. No, but don't forget, this is an ignorant urban renewal. Moreover, even if the environment has to swallow this kind of building and accept some compromise, it might be understandable if this building would have provided housing, but this building mostly focuses on hotel rooms and office spaces. Yes, office spaces in the city with the most empty office buildings, and especially after COVID-19 when office work is deprioritized. Very nice, very nice. And now the logical question comes. Okay, how the hell this kind of monster architecture was permitted to be built? Bureaucracy, oh bureaucracy. You see, the railway station is kind of shared between two different municipalities of Brussels, Anderlecht and Saint-Gilles. One municipality gave unfavorable opinion, which means no for the project, and the other one gave very critical favorable opinion, which means yes for the project but under many conditions. If you sum up these opinions, this project should have been rejected. But also in Brussels, for projects with regional or federal importance, the region of Brussels, which is something like a separate government, has right to give a dominant opinion. And after strange justifications, it got a green light. Now, not to explain the whole building permit process in Brussels because it might be a little bit complicated, but here we will give you another juicy fact. During the public survey, there were 200 different negative notes for this project, but the project still got approved. I mean, look, we are architects in Brussels and we know how serious the planning services are, even for a small project. There are plenty of critical questions that you have to respond and you have to elaborate in order to defend the project. But mysterious ways. Maybe it's because this ignorant building will be designed and proposed by a famous star architect. Very nice, very nice. No, seriously, jokes on side. Probably this is a subject for a deeper research, but the list of issues for this building are beyond controversial. This is a problem-generating building. And this is exactly the final point. The major reason why we call this an ignorant urban renewal is because this building doesn't just ignore the surrounding problems, it actually amplifies the problems and it makes them unsolvable. In fact, this building has potential to change the course of the whole neighborhood and create a chain of developments that will resemble nothing else but an ignorant urbanization. But probably now you'll say, okay, why don't you give us solutions for the problem? Well, the first advice that we can give you from our comfortable position of useless YouTube channel is Make a deliberate research first. Come on. Basics. No, honestly, we have been engaged in several projects, and in Belgium here you can find great professionals who can really offer spectrum of solutions. Like, for example,
enhancing the entrances of the building in a subtle manner interwoven with the surrounding.
Densifying residential living, especially with activated fronts by the residents. This place really needs relatable emotion to the people who are living around.
Enhancing the natural lighting experience.
Developing intuitive and self-explanatory paths from the surrounding area that leads to the entrances of the railway station.
Greenery is always more than welcome, and not like that.
Activating the corners by local businesses and people who really care about this place, because they can really offer a great social control.
Creation of interactive fronts.
Sustainable fight with temporary housing crisis and establishing local mediators and catalysts.
Addressing the most affiliated residents as an anchor point of the neighborhood.
Invite local non-governmental groups to activate the corners. Believe me, there are multiple organizations that can serve as a software for establishing social bridges.
Locating the existing potentials and enhance them on the long term.
Making the area a little bit more pedestrianized and attractive for immediate businesses. Deliberate functional mix of buildings is super important. I mean, honestly, there are many things that can be done, and we're just freestyling with solutions here. But there is so much that can be done with so little financial means. There are many other steps that can be taken, but not this. Finally, let's wrap up this video with our illustration. As you can see on the illustration, there is a dense urban fabric and there is a massive hanging block, like a cloud hanging on top of the residence. With this, we metaphorically want to say the following. This ignorant building is designed, invested and approved by people who don't live nearby. They can defend this project as much as they want, but the residents around will have to continue to live with this massive, ignorant, hanging block on top of their heads every day and night, until they eventually, you know what. So, however, thank you very much for following. If you really like this episode, please like, share and comment. And also, we are talking a lot about ignorant urbanization and ignorant urban renewal here. If you want to see what is arrogant urbanization, you can check the video below, and see you in the next episode. Stay well and be aware of your city developments. Bye-bye. Sorry, what? Oh, so this project was actually the winner from a competition. Oh. And this was the second place proposal. Oh. And this was the third one. Oh. Well, actually, this massive, ignorant building is not that bad after all.